Trailblazers. It is Monday, July 21st, and I am so happy to be coming back to you after a maybe 3-week hiatus at this point. It has been an amazing few weeks of Essence Festival conferencing and spending time in South Carolina with my family, catching up with my siblings, my parents, my nieces, my cousins, all the things, as well as getting my feet under me back here in Huntsville, Alabama, where I am working on a raise, working on some partnerships, some B2B partnerships, and just integrating myself more and more inside of community. Today, I want to talk about why I believe in Fintech for founders and funders, right? I think understanding this term called Fintech is important for both entrepreneurs as well as those who are responsible for moving money. And so you might be saying, well, what is Fintech? That's a great question. Fintech is simply financial technology. Financial technology. So today, when we think about loans, we typically think about banks. And when we think about banks, we typically think about these buildings that have drive-through windows and ATMs, etc. But Fintech over the years have disrupted that, right? So when you think about checking out online, right, and there's this buy now, pay later. Maybe it's a firm that's offering it to you. Maybe it's Klarna that's offering it to you. Maybe PayPal is offering it to you. This financial technology did not have to show up in your neighborhood. You did not have to get into your car and drive there. You did not even need to apply to utilize it, right? But it has made access to capital, right? Access to credit more efficient, more accessible, right? With less barriers for people who have been overlooked by traditional banking systems. And this is why it is so important, again, for entrepreneurs and for those who are moving money, right? Whether you be bankers, whether you are a startup founder yourself, a fintech founder yourself, understanding the importance of fintech so that we reimagine the way capital moves through communities is vital to us solving our own problems in our own communities. One fintech company I want to highlight today, again, just to illustrate how important it is for solving our problems in our own community, right? Not waiting for somebody to come and save us, or getting in our cars and driving 30 minutes past everything that does exist in our neighborhood to get to a bank. That's craziness, right? One fintech that I love that's doing it very, very well is a company called Flex.io. Flex.io. And what Flex does is it says, okay, rent payments, just like mortgage payments, are typically due one time per month, right? But rent payments are typically due at the beginning of the month. That's a cash outflow for households. But what we all know is cash inflows are typically not completely occurring at the beginning of the month. Typically, folks are paid about twice per month, right? And so you have this big cash outflow at the beginning of the month. You have this trickle in 2 times per month. And so if families aren't able to save up, right, enough to last through the top of the month when that big outflow is coming, they're struggling, or they're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. What Flex has done instead is they pay the landlord 100% of what is owed, and they split the rent payment in 2 for the borrower. So the borrower is able to pay half on the first of the month. Flex has already paid the landlord the whole thing, right? And then they're able to pay the remainder about 2 weeks later, which again matches their cash outflow with their cash inflow. Brilliant. We did not need a branch for that. We did not need to get into the car and go, right, drive somewhere to beg for that and then wait 3 weeks for a decision, right? Flex, through technology, through financial technology, is solving problems in our communities that we care about without waiting on banks to catch up, right? And that is why fintech is so important. It is why we as entrepreneurs need to understand what options are available to us outside of these big brand names that market to us heavily, so that we work with the willing, right? And so that we have options as we walk along this track of being commercial bank ready, right, where they might want 3 years of operating history and profitability and a certain credit score, etc., there are options along the way, along the journey towards that. And then for those of you who love finance and love building solutions, it is important that you understand that you should be the builder of these solutions. Between 1984 and 2020, between 1984 and 2020, 70% of all banks in the U.S. disappeared. They were acquired, they failed, they vanished, they did not come back. 70% of all U.S. banks disappeared. And so where it was the case where on a corner you might go inside of a community bank or a credit union, right, and you see the woman that you go to church with, or you see the older lady who babysat you when you were coming up, whatever, right, who had relationship with you and who would advocate for you and understand what your needs are and explain things in terms you understand because they're relevant to your lived experiences, that vanished for us. And all that remained were payday loans and title loan sharks and all of these horrible options, making it very, very expensive to be poor. And so it is incumbent on us to create solutions. Many of you may not know that I sit on the board of Kiva US. That was the first online lending platform ever. Right? I sit on their board and I advise on what solutions should look and feel like for those who are on entrepreneurial paths or are underfunded. I'm a consultant to Interledger Foundation, a technology company that has created code, right? Computer science and computer engineering code that allows money to move across countries, across currencies, from crypto to fiat, without so many restrictions, because restrictions exist in the US. If you don't have Venmo and I have Venmo, I can't send you money. If you don't have Zelle and I have Zelle, I can't send you money. If you don't have Cash App and I have Cash App, I can't send you money. Right? There are so many closed systems that exist inside of this country, whereas when you go to maybe emerging markets, all you need is a phone number, and that phone number can send to any phone number, and that money that sits on that phone number can buy groceries, it can pay for electricity, it can buy coffee, right? These are the things that financial technology opens up for us, and I want you to be posted into options. Okay, Kiva is a financial technology option where entrepreneurs can raise $15,000 with no interest online. There is no building to drive to, right? So keep your eyes and your ears open around these things. GoFundMe is Fintech, right? Stripe is Fintech. You're already using it. It is already accessible, and there's so many other use cases that are still yet to be developed. And so it's why in the Blaze Group app, we expose you to fintech options. We have a CDFI, which is a community development financial institution bank that is a fintech inside of the app. We have Kiva options inside of the app, right? We have various things. But we also have a training program for fintech startups to help them develop new solutions, especially around credit lending, around loans, right? Help people who are currently completely ignored by the traditional banking system so that they launch these products, so that they're funded in these products. So these are some of the things that we're doing, and I want to make it a public statement that funders and founders need to bet on fintech, because we sure are. I'm sending you so much love and light. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, please do subscribe on Spotify or any streaming channel you're listening on. And if you're inside of the Blaze Group app, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being in community. Thank you for trusting us and allowing us to hold your hand. And I just ask that you list out what fintech solutions you're already using today. And again, it's just financial technology. Like, what are the apps? What are the websites? What are the companies that are making your life easier? And I want you to list them out so that when you are in a bind, when you're thinking through what options you have, these things start coming up in your mind well before commercial banks that are more inaccessible do. right? Because they're already waiting for you. Maybe it's Robinhood where you trade, right? Or E-Trade where you buy stocks, right? There's so many, but list them out, right? So that you actually see how many options you do have today. And so the next time you feel like you are overlooked or your needs are unmet, like you are reminded there are other options that were created for you with less red tape. Before I go, I want to give a big shout out to Solo Funds. Solo Funds is another fintech that I love. They have created an app that allows community members to ask for money. Okay, the community member can decide how much they need and when they want to pay it back. They can literally choose the due date on a calendar. Okay, they choose their own, and instead of having interest rates, they choose to write in tips, right? And so you can tip a certain percentage to whoever is lending to you, right? And then you can be a lender on that platform and make some money on every dollar that you've given, right? In by way of tips. And they've created their own credit scoring system, right? That is outside of FICO, right? And these are the things that you can do, that we do inside of fintech. And I want more and more people to work with the willing, because we have options. Big love and light. Until next week.